All right, so we're back here with the Jagdpanzer IV, and Hilary Doyle's in the gunner's seat, and we have our gun here. We're going to talk a little bit about the features that made this particular one very effective.
Yeah, on this side and on the top of the position, I have the elevation wheel, so I crank that to raise and lower my gun. But very important, down here I have my traverse, and the traverse mechanism that was designed for this gun was very precise and very, very good. As I mentioned, this is an L70, and the gun mount was adapted from that was designed for the Jagdpanzer IV with the L48, and that L48 gun transferred over to the Jagdpanzer 38. So what we have is a very precise traverse, which allows you to fire multiple rounds with minimum resetting of the design. This is totally different to what happened in the Swiss version that people talk about as the G13. The gun in that is not a Pak 39, it's a Sturmkanone 40, which comes from the older design of the Sturmgeschütz, and it was adapted to fit into this ball mount. But after the war, in preparation for the export to Czechoslovakia, Skoda installed the Sturmgeschütz 40, of which they were manufacturer of 70%, into this mount, but they had to design a new type of traversing mechanism, which is not quite as precise as this original German one. The gun itself, if we think about this is the L70, and it was an onwards design from an L60 that Rheinmetall had produced, because you have huge competition from a commercial point of view between different gun manufacturers, between different chassis manufacturers, and this gun is a Rheinmetall, and the Krupp people were mad keen to sell their 88mm gun into this. But this is just as effective for the type of work that they were working on, which was to defend at a certain number of meters away, a long distance. That's the whole concept. The gun sight, actually, you can see it. Can you? No,
yeah,
you can see this is the dial for ranking up your range estimates, and then that helps to elevate, give the information for the elevation and so forth.
Okay, so the commander's got a target, and he's going to direct the gunner in.
Yeah, here at the side of the photograph, you can see the mounting for the scissors periscope. So he's able to, with a primitive rangefinder, he's also able to calculate a range, because the Germans were heading all the time towards making the first shot more accurate. So they wanted to get rangefinders into all of the vehicles, but that never happened in practice.
So they have to bracket, just like artillery crews?
Yes, they do, yeah. I mean, you fire one round and you see where it falls, and then you up or down based on what the position it falls. So it usually takes quite a few rounds to kill a tank.
About how many? Like, if you could throw a number out with like an average.
Yeah, the figures are, well, it absolutely changes over a period of time, and it changes on the types of gun and so forth. But it wouldn't be unusual to fire off 18 rounds in a combat. Now, if you're in a close-in position where the guy's in are 800 meters or something like that, you're more likely to only use 3 or 4 rounds.
But for a vehicle like this, which is designed to kill at a distance, it's going to be way more than a few.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So what were some of the aspects that made this gun and this vehicle particularly effective?
Well, it's the gun technology. Rheinmetall have a huge reputation for the gun development, and they were designing this gun from years earlier as the next round of tanks that never appeared because they got superseded and so forth. So they were hoping to put in their 75mm L60 into various vehicles. So I mean, if we think, say, about what went on, you had Henschel were assembling a VK 3601, 36-ton tank one. And there was one of the proposals was to put on that a turret with a Rheinmetall L60 gun. But then when the Porsche Tiger failed, not because of anything other than the engines that were needed for that, the move came to use the chassis of the 3601 and create a Tiger. Now, to do that, what they wanted to do is utilize the turret that had already been developed for the Porsche Tiger on the VK3601. So they extended the size of the vehicle, created a sponson, and gave enough space for a turret ring that would take the turret for the Porsche Tiger on the Tiger 1. And that's where that came from. In the meantime, Rheinmetall had won the competition for an extended gun, an L70, for the Panther design. And then there's the issue about, well, in the Daimler-Benz version of the Panther, why did that disappear? And the answer to that was that there were several demonstrations of the MAN Panther against the Daimler-Benz Panther and a lot of other interesting vehicles at these demonstrations. And the demonstrations were held at Berka, and each time they tried to show the Daimler-Benz Panther in action in comparison to the MAN Panther, it didn't work. And they decided that the engines and transmission and everything just didn't work, and that whole project got cancelled, and MAN were asked to make the Panther.
Wow. Awesome. So when this thing came around, this was the end result of a lot of different decisions and changes and alterations.
Oh yeah, huge. And I mean, this is not the same gun mount as in a Panther.
Right.
This is for a tank destroyer gun mount, but it's the same gun. The recoil cylinders and everything else have been redesigned many times to get it to the level of perfection that it's at.
Awesome. So there's our gun, and we'll go on to the next part.